Hello everybody and welcome to this video, and boy do we have a good one to talk about this week. It is Crash Team Racing Nitro-Fueled, the newest Crash Kart racer, which comes to us from Activision obviously, and it's been a long time since we last saw one of these from memory. The last one was actually the Game Boy Advanced one, I want to say. I could be wrong there, but it has been a long time since we've had a chance to play one of these. And obviously it comes to us from Activision. I think given the success that the Crash Bandicoot HD remaster had when Activision threw that out a year or two ago, they've maybe realised that people have fond nostalgia for this series and it was probably worth doing a new one. So they have. And here it is. And it is good. It is really, really good. After the disappointment of that recent Sonic racing title, I needed this, I think, as a kart racing fan. I needed something that could convince me that a developer other than Nintendo could do the genre justice, and this developer has more than done so. This is a really great kart racer, and I think it's a wonderful game, and I have nothing but positive things to say about it. So to start with the superficial first, the tracks are gorgeous. It's quite obvious. You can see it on the screen there in front of you as you're watching along. The tracks are gorgeous, and the developers have spent a lot of time in every square inch of each of these tracks. And there's a lot of them. I think there's 7, possibly 8 courses or cups, with each one has 4 tracks on them, so you're looking at basically the same number of tracks as a Mario Kart title, which is great. It's on the generous end, I think, for kart racers, and I certainly think that this one has more track content than the Sega one that came out about a month ago. So the developers, if I was to criticize one thing about the game, and I'm really stretching here, the developers have been a little bit too much in debt to Mario Kart with the track design. There's nothing here that really breaks away from what Mario Kart has already done, and the developers have clearly paid a lot of attention to what makes the Mario Kart tracks good, with the way that the curves are designed, the way that the tracks twist and turn around, and give you plenty of opportunities to really take advantage of the boosts as the skill-based side of the driving. So there's nothing there that really breaks with the tradition, and I think that is actually, I mean, while you could say it's a criticism of it, it's actually also to the game's benefit, because this is a game that people really wanted to be something quite traditional. They wanted the modern production values, of course, but they have those fond memories of Crash racing from back on the PlayStation and on the GBA and all that, and they wanted that experience, and I think that's what the developers have really focused on delivering. So it is exactly that game that you remember, but now with the production values of a modern kart racer. And again, it looks absolutely gorgeous. I mean, if I was to compare it and Mario Kart, between the two of them, they're both the very top of the genre as far as the visual side of things is concerned. The weapons are quite good too. It doesn't have the iconic blue shells and whatever of Mario Kart, of course, because there's been less Crash racing games, so there's been less time for those items to develop that kind of heritage behind them. But what's there is great. It'll be instantly familiar to people who have played the previous Crash titles, and unlike that Sonic racing game, the items all have their own distinct personality. As soon as you pick one up, you know exactly what you've got, and it's just very vibrant. It's very exciting. There's such a great difference between what the items do, and it's all good. It's all very well made. It's all very elegant. It's all very colourful. It's just a really well made and spot on precise kart racer. It is everything that you wanted from a kart racer. The other great thing about it is how much stuff they've managed to pack into the game, because there's a lot, and you'll never get tired of it, to be honest. You'll be playing this one for a long time to come, because in addition to the standard cups, which have multiple difficulty levels, of course, as you would expect, there's about 8 or 9 different ways to play the arcade, as the game calls it, from battle mode to various kind of collectathons while you're racing, and of course time trials there as well, if you like racing for those extra seconds and you like being kind of, you know, shaving thousandth of a second off your lap runs. You can spend plenty of time mastering that too, because again, the tracks are designed in such a way that there's enough complexity to them that there's plenty of room to improve on each of those tracks and really master them and master their quirks, find the occasional shortcut, all of that stuff. So time trial's great, the battle mode's great, the standard cup race is great, online of course is there as well, so you can compete with family and friends from around the world at any time that you like, and that works quite well from as far as I can tell. I must admit, from the preview build, firstly it was hard to find matches because not so many people playing, of course, and secondly there was a little bit of unreliability, which Activision has told us is going to obviously be fixed in time for the game's full launch. So that I'm not criticising the game for that. I know, because it is an Activision game and it does have those kinds of that publishers power behind it. They're not going to get anything wrong there, and the multiplayer will work fine for people. So that's a good thing as well. But I guess the bulk of the game, for the single player person like me who likes to race by myself, I do like the kart racer as a single player experience as well. For me, the big thing is of course the adventure mode. Now, I remember from playing the Crash games from back in the day that the adventure mode had that wonderful hub, and from that hub you'd go to different nodes. Each node would give you a different track. Once you completed that track, you'd be able to go back and do some various other secondary objectives on those tracks, like collecting things and all that kind of stuff. And it was a clever way of keeping you invested in the game and keeping you going back to the same levels again and again to really kind of eventually get the full completion, 100% completion and all that. And it had a good difficulty curve. It didn't start off too challenging, but as you went on, some of the objectives became incredibly challenging, and it really tested your abilities on every single track. So that is back, as I was really happy to find out immediately. It is back in full, and it is exactly that experience that I remember from the previous Crash games that I played. The hub is still there, and while there's not much to do in the hub, it's a good place to kind of cruise around and just practice some driving and just explore, because it's so bright and colourful and has that really entertaining vibe to it. Then there's obviously the nodes, and each of those nodes does have that. First time you race, it's just a pure race, but once you come through in first, you then go back to that and you try to do a couple of different objectives as well. So that structure is there exactly as I remembered, and again, I think it's great. I think that this game, once again, doesn't mess with tradition much, and that's to its strength, because it is giving me this rush of nostalgia. Every time I turn it on, I have this huge rush of nostalgia and love for what made Crash Racing such a popular game back in the day. Outside of the racing, there's a couple of things that might disappoint people a little bit. I actually probably would not say disappoint them, but it'll induce a groan of sorts. Let's put it that way. So firstly, the frame rate of the game is capped at 30 frames per second. This doesn't bother me particularly, especially since the previous Crash racing games were all at that as well. But I know that 60 frames per second is kind of the standard these days, and people look for that, and if that matters to you, then you might be disappointed by the frame rate that this game is locked at. So there's that, and I do have to mention that in the interest of being complete. So there you go. Doesn't bother me. It didn't affect my ability to race and come first and have a good time while it. And in multiplayer, everybody's locked to the same frame rate, so it's not like anybody's getting an advantage from it being at 30 frames per second. But it is there, and it might be an issue for some people. The other issue, which I did find to be a little bit grindy and therefore annoying, to be honest, is the way that unlocks happen. The game has the user interface makes the unlocks look like a kind of loot box system, where there's this cycling range of things that you can pick up using coins that you earn from in-game races. Now, there's no microtransactions in the game, at least I don't think so. It might be possible to buy some in-game cash for real cash and speed your process of unlocking things up. I don't know. I assume it probably is there, to be honest, because it is Activision, and let's face it, Activision does like to make their monies. But you do earn enough coins anyway in-game that I never felt the pressure to go looking to see if there was a DLC option to speed this process up. But that being said, the cycling range of items that you get includes... there's no loot boxes in the sense that it's not randomized in terms of what you get once you make a purchase, but there's a whole lot of superficial stuff in there to go with the character unlocks and the kart unlocks and all that kind of stuff. And I find that to be a little bit much in games these days, to be honest. There's just so many little icons and niggly little things, little decor options and stuff, which doesn't do much for the experience, to be honest. I understand having characters being unlocked, or full carts being unlocked, or major things like that being unlocked. I can understand that to an extent, as long as there's not too much locked from the start, as long as it's as long as there's a good amount in there from the start, and then you can unlock some extras as you play along. That's fine. But when there's just so much stuff that's behind this unlock system that you feel like you need to grind and grind and grind and grind just to unlock it all, it becomes tiring. And it's not like I wasn't playing the game enough to unlock all that stuff anyway, because yeah, it's a game that I was just enjoying playing that much, so I just found myself getting through all the unlocks as I was playing. But it still feels like it's that kind of irritating incentive to keep playing, because there's just so much stuff you got to get it. You got to play for so long. It just feels like there's that really irritating effort to lock people into playing a game, and that always gets me. It gets my resistance up a little bit, and it frustrates me a little bit. I know it's not exclusive to this game. In fact, it's not. It's not even uncommon. It's basically the way that games work these days, and it's to try and convince people to keep playing on. But at the same time, like I said, it is tiring, and it is a criticism that I have of the of the general way that especially big budget games from major publishers are made. That rant aside, like I said, I absolutely love this game. It plays like a dream. The power slide mechanic is great. It has a great risk reward system where you can get up to 3 lots of boosts from a single power slide, and those boosts can be quite powerful or quite weak, depends on how much you want to risk the timing of it, because if you overcook it for too long, then you lose the boost entirely. So there's that real risk reward kind of system in there, and that sense of timing and skill based driving, which helps elevate this across some other kart races where it feels like it's too weapons weighted and a little bit too easy on the racing side of things. So that's a great thing. Everything else I love about Crash. I think this is a great game. I think it's absolutely essential. I have a review going up on digitallydownloaded.net. Be sure to check that out. But otherwise, just get stuck in and enjoy the racing. This is a joy to play. Thanks very much for watching, and we will see you at the next video.